Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a past, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want, yeah. Rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooters gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I won, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.
Hello again to some of you. For the others who I did not see on Bash's earlier live, hello. So I apologize for the time change. I had all intents and purposes of going live at 11:30 this morning. However, I woke up at 11 o'clock this morning. I was up early because of the felines, and I went back to sleep. And normally I only sleep until maybe 9:30, 10. So when I woke up, I said, Alexa, what time is it? And she said 11 something. And I was like, wait, what? So I asked her what time it was again. And I was like, oh my God. So I quick changed it to, I think it was 1:30, just because I was like, I need to change it. I'm not going to be ready by 11:30. And then Bash had wanted to do a live as well. So I said, I'll just go after you because I still have stuff that I have to get done. So before I start, there's so many updates. And depending on time, I may end up doing a second update live tomorrow morning in regards to the firefighters in Newark, because that is actually at the end of the presentation, and that has the most updates to it because it's still an ongoing investigation. The fire is still burning, believe it or not, which that big of an inferno, it makes sense. So depending on time, I may move the Newark firefighters to tomorrow, just because I don't want this to be super long, especially because right before I went live, there was another mass shooting. this time by a man on a moped in New York City. So that is what we're going to start with today. But before we do that, let me just say hi to those of you coming in. So Amy M was actually here first. Good morning. Hopefully I will be done with my cooking in time for your live stream. Well, good news. You're definitely going to be done with your cooking because I am very late because I had to reschedule. Outlaw, hello. Ann Nicholson, no one is getting the treatment during this live. This is my case updates. So I guess we could say a lot of people are getting the treatment. However, there's no bashing that's going to be going on during this live, at least. And yes, tons of updates. And so the intro, the other intro, I love the song. And so I got a message saying, you got to work on the looping of your intro. And I was like, listen, that's the way it came. I am not tech savvy. I'm not good at, like I had said earlier, it's hard enough for me to just put an image using CapCut, putting Betty's face on a picture. So I had that video and it's been just sitting in my phone. And I was like, oh my God, I wonder if I can use the one app that I use to put voiceover, like to put audio over a picture. Sure enough, it worked. So I really like that because not only am I not looping the song a second time just to get the 5 minutes, but the intro is only about 3.5 minutes. And I get to use my headstone video, which obviously my name, Headstones and Headlines, it makes sense. So yes, I'm really happy that I was able to do that when I didn't think I could. So Cool Gamer, hello. Shauna. Cheesy Wheezy, hi. Good to see you. Heather B. Beachy. Oh, wow, Shauna, you didn't know about the firefighters until yesterday. Yeah, I did. I'm trying to think. It was the morning after the fire started. I did a live on it. So I don't even remember what day it was. But yeah, I've been following that. And there's just so much that's come out in that story. So I always say I want to do the stories I talk about justice. So I want to give them the time they deserve. So that's why I may cut this in half just because I think I have like 30 slides, which is an incredible amount of information. Hey, Jeannie. Good to see you. Sinner, as always. Blank. Great. So Blank Screen, I saw that you posted that short video. And man, Betty is looking rougher and rougher every day. I mean, I thought she looked old before in your videos. I don't know if you enhanced that one somehow, but she looked really, really haggard in that short video you posted. I was like, holy moly. The other stream ended. I don't know what you mean by that. No wire hangers. Hello. Curious AF. Hello. Good to see you. Mona Lisa, beautiful nerd. And Pink Stripe. Did I say hi to you? I don't remember saying hi. So if I did, hello again. If not, hi. All right. So we're going to get started because like I said, there is a lot going on. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is this mass shooting that happened it happened in not only Queens, but also Brooklyn. Well, it started in Brooklyn, ended in Queens. And when I saw the headline, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And sure enough, it was legit. So again, this happened yesterday. It started in Brooklyn, ended in Queens. And it was a man on a moped driving around the streets of New York City, shooting people, random people walking. Yes. One was killed, 3 injured, and he has been apprehended, and we'll get to that. So yes, I'm sure there have been others, but this one showed up and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, no one is safe just walking their dog or walking to their job or just taking a walk because they want to get fresh air. So this, again, there's this one. The majority of these, it's all video. So I don't have any news story updates, except for there is one in one of the cases that it wouldn't let me play it on Google Slides, which is very annoying. So I just have to go to a link there. But all of this it's all a video slideshow. And so here's this person on the moped who was driving around shooting at random people in broad daylight, no less.
Investigators are trying to find out why a man went on that death.
All right, come on. I don't know what is up with StreamYard. Give me a second, y'all. This is...
of the day. Surveillance video shows the man who police say pulled the trigger on strangers. This video shows the suspect pulling up to a victim who was crossing the street and shooting him. The man in this video survived. It was one of 5 shootings in the span of an hour starting at 11 a.m. that police linked to the same suspect. The spree starting in Brooklyn, ending in...
So again, these are all of the different incidents. So there were 5 instances of shots fired. There were 3 injured at this point, 1 killed. However, as we will hear, one of them is fighting for their life right now. I really don't know what's happening with Google in StreamYard. We'll just give it a minute. We actually had
Queens, leaving 1 man dead, 3 others injured. News 4's Melissa Colorado walks us through what happened.
A shooter on a scooter.
Pop, pop, pop.
Firing at innocent strangers in Brooklyn and Queens.
Unbelievably angry.
Killing at least 1 man during a 2-hour rampage.
She was already trying to press on the wound. They had a towel on him.
Is behind bars tonight. Police say the shooter is a 25-year-old Hispanic man with 1 arrest on his record.
Video shows that he's not targeting anybody. He's not following anybody. As he's driving on his scooter, he's randomly shooting people.
The first shooting happened at 11:10 a.m. in Cypress Hills, Brooklyn. A 21-year-old man is shot in the shoulder and is expected to survive. 17 minutes later, the shooter makes his way to 108th Street and Jamaica Avenue in Richmond Hill, Queens. Surveillance video shows him approaching a man walking his dog and an 87-year-old man walking in the opposite direction. The man with the dog ducks. We froze in the moment before the senior is shot in the back. Juan Jimenez was teaching a martial arts class to children when gunfire broke out steps away from his studio, blasting the windows of this nail salon with employees inside.
And it was one of my 8-year-olds who was looking out the window who saw it.
Jimenez rushed out to perform CPR. We shared with him the tragic...
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's copycatting. I feel like people are just getting, in my opinion, they're getting more brazen. They just don't have any conscience. And, you know, they just, I don't know what's going through their heads because I don't think like that. It just seems, I don't even know.
Update. The senior did not survive.
Wow. That's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. It's
The third shooting happens less than 10 minutes later on Hillside Avenue and 126th Street. Surveillance video shows a man crossing a street. The shooter drives by him. We froze in the moment. The 44-year-old victim is shot in the face. Police say that victim is fighting for his life at the hospital.
Our investigators were able to pull video of the shooter. The image was sent to the smartphone of every NY by PD officer.
The fourth and final shooting, 134th Street and Jamaica Avenue. The alleged murderer on a moped shoots a 63-year-old man in the shoulder who's expected to pull through. Just after 1 p.m., 3 eagle-eyed officers spot the shooter in Jamaica, Queens, and arrest him. In the back of the moped, police say they find this, a 9mm semi-automatic pistol with additional rounds.
It could have been a lot worse.
Hopefully this never happens again.
And investigators working to find out if the weapon that was recovered at the scene was a ghost gun or not. That's the latest here in Richmond Hill, Queens. I'm Melissa Colorado, News 4 New York.
Okay, and
Investigators are trying to find out.
so this is just another video in regards to this, just because there was a little bit different information in it. They did some just different reporting. Yeah, I agree, Rambo. Lack of mental health help. And again, this was a 25-year-old Hispanic male, which, I mean, it seems like, you know, younger and, well, I mean, I guess young is, it's all ages. It doesn't skip anyone, it seems.
Why a man went on that deadly shooting spree on a scooter, targeting people at random in the middle of the day. Surveillance video shows the man who police say pulled the trigger on strangers. This video shows the suspect pulling up to a victim who was crossing the street and shooting him. The man in this video survived. It was one of 5 shootings in the span of an hour starting at 11 a.m. that police linked to the same suspect. The spree starting in Brooklyn, ending in Queens, leaving 1 man dead, 3 others injured. News 4's Melissa Colorado walks us through what happened.
A shooter on a scooter.
Pop, pop, pop.
Firing at innocent strangers in Brooklyn and Queens.
Unbelievably angry.
Killing at least 1 man during a 2-hour rampage.
She was already trying to press on the wound. They had a towel on him.
Wait a minute. Is this the same one? Hang on a second, y'all. I feel like this is the same one I just played. It is. I am so sorry. Give me 1 second. I was like, wait, this sounds like what we just listened to. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay. My bad. There we go. All right, let me share screen again. Sorry about that.
First, we're following breaking news out of Brooklyn and Queens.
And well, my computer is being ridiculous. And just so everyone knows, I do have a help ticket, so to speak, in with StreamYard. They're trying to figure out why my comments are posting twice. If I post them in StreamYard, I'm also going to get a hold of them and say, is there something going on between StreamYard and Google? Because this is not acceptable to me.
1 person is dead, 3 others wounded after police say a man on a scooter appeared to shoot people at random as he rode through both boroughs. Thanks for joining us for the Pix 11 News at 6. I'm Kadi Tong. The suspected shooter is now in custody. This all started shortly after 11 this morning in Brooklyn. And as you can see right there, the 4 victims were shot at 4 different locations, all within the span of a terrifying half hour, and yet another senseless act of gun violence. Our Pix 11's McGee Hickey is live for us right now at the police precinct in Richmond Hills, Queens, where the acting police commissioner just held a presser. Hi there, McGee.
Hi there, Katie. As you can imagine, such a tense and terrifying half hour for hundreds of residents here in Queens and in Brooklyn. The motive still isn't clear on what sparked this random shooting at 5 different locations with 4 victims, an 86-year-old man dead. It appears to be really random. Police don't have a motive at this point, and a young man shot in the face is fighting for his life.
Oops, sorry, y'all.
First, we're following breaking news out of Brooklyn and Queens.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. I accidentally put my notebook on the mouse pad. Here we go. Okay.
Hi there, Heidi. As you can imagine, such a tense and terrifying half hour for hundreds of residents.
This is really getting on my nerves.
Here in Queens and in Brooklyn. The motive still isn't clear on what sparked this random shooting at 5 different locations with 4 victims, an 86-year-old man dead. It appears to be really random. Police don't have a motive at this point, and a young man shot in the face is fighting for his life right now.
The individual took it upon himself to shoot 4 innocent people, tragically killing 1. Our hearts go out to all the families affected by the senseless violence.
Police said the first shooting happened just after 11 in the morning at 108th Street in Arlington Avenue. Police say a gunman on this unlicensed scooter fired.
Oh, this is so aggravating.
This weapon, shooting a young man in the shoulder, and less than 20 minutes later, the shooting spree turned fatal. Police say an 86-year-old man was killed after the gunman opened fire at 134th Street and Jamaica Avenue. Police say the 3rd and 4th locations nearby, there were random shootings from the scooter, took place less than a block apart, where a man was shot in the face. He is in critical condition, and police say the motive for these shootings is not clear.
At this time, we don't know the motive. It seems that his acts were random. If you look at the demographics and pedigree of the victims, they're all different. At this time, video shows that he's not targeting anybody. He's not following anybody. As he's driving on his scooter, he's randomly shooting people.
Police say these 2 police officers, Fernandez and Robinson, got the critical alerts on their phones, calls to be on the lookout, and spotted the gunman and were able to apprehend him. This city council member for the area, Lynn Schulman, applauded the quick work of the police.
I mean, this individual apparently covered a wide swath of area. So the fact that the police were on it, the police officers were alert and saw what was going on and acted immediately. So that was great.
And police say the gunman is still being questioned. His name hasn't been released because he hasn't been charged with any crime yet. Police also have not released the name of the older man who died. And yet there is still that man in his 40s in critical condition at a nearby hospital. We are live in Richmond Hill, Queens. McGee Hickey, Pix 11 News.
Okay, so that is just a quick story that I have not covered before that I saw when I was getting ready for the live, and I said, not again. And yet again, we have another mass shooting. So this next one is Kristel Candelario, who I did not initially cover because I wasn't going to. However, Bullhorn Betty recently released the 911 call in this story, which tells me that she is going to be following this story closely. And it is my opinion that she gives a lot of misinformation when it comes to cases. And so I decided I'm going to just give a quick overview of what this story entails. And this is who Bash actually coined her vacation mom initially. However, that is also how Betty refers to her. I'm going to refer to her as Kristel, because that is her name. And this happened back on June 16th, 2023. Kristel took a vacation to Puerto Rico and then to Detroit. And when she returned home 8 days later, her 18-month-old was deceased. She is currently being held on $1 million bond. And so I will be following this as things progress as well.
All right, our breaking news night continues now on Cleveland's west side. Everywhere at 5 o'clock, we told you about the death of a 16-month-old.
New at 6, neighbors telling 19 News the child.
Oh, and I think I said 18 months. That was my mistake. 16-month-old.
Left home alone while the mother went on vacation. The mom now charged with murder. Our Katie Wilson has been working her sources all day long on this horrific case.
She's live with a glimpse of what this little girl's family life was really like. Katie.
Brian, Tiffany, it's hard to imagine how this could possibly happen. 31-year-old Kristel Candelario now in jail. Neighbors say she left her baby at home to die. And making matters worse, neighbors I spoke to say they would have gladly taken in this 16-month-old if they had only known. According to court records, 1-year-old Jaylene Candelario was found in this home on West 97. Heartbroken to hear the news because they got to know and love little Jaylene. They say they took Jaylene in many times when Candelario went to work, even describing her as one of their own. According to these neighbors, Candelario left Jaylene often.
It wasn't really her mom that was.
And that's one thing that I'm keeping an eye on as well, is because in numerous articles and other videos, neighbors have said it wasn't new that Kristel was leaving her baby alone, which is very concerning, in my opinion.
Taking care of her, it was her grandma that was mostly taking care of her. Her mom always wanted to go out and just left her with her grandma and all that.
That neighbor we spoke to says that Candelario's grandparents also lived in that home, but they're on a separate trip right now. Her bond was set at $1 million. We're still waiting on the medical examiner to tell us how exactly little Jaylene died. Any updates we do get, we will pass along to you on air, online, and on our streaming platforms. Live in Cleveland, Katie Wilson, 19 News.
Okay. All right, so the next one is just another summary of the case, but again, they interview the neighbor a little more, so they answer different questions, and then we'll get into a video of her first appearance. Wait a minute, is that the right one? Hold on a second. Oh, okay, my bad. I thought I had... Give me a second, everybody. I feel like something's not right here. Okay, I guess I only had 2 videos. I thought I had 3, but I must have taken one out because that one was... All right. We're going to roll with it.
Start with the jail in the courtroom. Kristel Candelario.
Angel, that is what I'm curious about too. If so, in what the neighbor, the little girl who was talking, thought I had another video, and I'm annoyed with myself that I don't have it. They had watched the baby previously when the mom went away the mom was supposed to be away for 2 weeks, I believe. And so the neighbor and her daughter said, we'll just take her for a couple of weeks. The mom never returned after 2 weeks. It ended up being, I believe, 6 weeks. And so the neighbor was, contacting the mom saying, I need money. Like, we need diapers, we need food, we need, formula, whatever they were, and it wasn't the first time that she did it. And the difference, though, is that Kristel's parents had actually left for vacation before she did. So, yeah, it's just very bizarre. And I'm going to try to find that other video, because that one actually has what I wanted to talk about in it. So I'm going to just play this, and then I'm going to try to find the other video.
That's case number 682-211.
All right, sorry, I have YouTube open and now it's acting up. All right, so while we're waiting for this to get its act together, welcome to those of you who are joining me. I really appreciate you being here and hanging out with me on this Sunday afternoon.
Let the record reflect Robert Forstag will be interpreting for the defendant in this matter.
Wow, this cameraman needs to get it
Ordered by
together.
the court and is under constant oath to interpret word for word all statements made by the court and the defendant. And counsel, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Your Honor. Chuck Kazelka on behalf of Ms. Candelario. Acknowledge the indictment, waive reading, advisement, and notice, and are not guilty plea. Ask for reasonable bond and for the public defenders to be appointed.
President, also, I'm sorry, from the state of Ohio, Anna Faralia. Ms. Faralia, do you wish to address the court?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a very heinous case here in Cuyahoga County. We would ask that you honor the bond commissioner's request for $1 million bail and to continue that, no property, nothing, just $1 million.
$1 million cash is what you're saying?
Yes.
$1 million set bond cash goes to Dr. Judge Brendan Sheehan. Public defender shall represent as one counsel. The second counsel will be Deanna Robertson. And the first pretrial will be July 5th at 9 o'clock. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. We can't set up, okay, cash surety property.
Thank you.
All right, so it appears that she had a first appearance. Actually, give me 1 second, y'all. My sister's calling me, and I need to tell her that I am busy. All right, so we're trying to organize childcare on Tuesday. So I just let her know that I'm live. I'll call her back. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't really know. Was she just hoping for the best or what? She had done it before, but what I don't understand is why she didn't ask the neighbors to watch the child again unless she did, and they said no. So she just assumed I'm going to go anyways. I did find the other video that I wanted to show. The reason this is the one that wouldn't play for me in Google Slides. So this one actually gives a little bit more information about the case as well. And this is from June 22nd, which was the first video I showed was from the 20th. This was a couple of days later.
We're going to begin here at 5 o'clock with new details about a disturbing story we told you about yesterday. A Cleveland mother charged with murder after she allegedly leaves her baby home alone for more than a week and went on vacation.
News 5 anchor Tracy Carlos with the new details about the mother, Kristel Candelario.
Neighbors who live along West 97th Street in Cleveland are heartbroken about what police say
unfolded inside this house.
We just couldn't believe that she was gone.
31-year-old Kristel Candelario was charged with murder in connection to the death of her daughter.
They watched the baby many times.
This neighbor and her daughter asked not to be identified.
Jalene, she was a happy baby, always smiling, always curious about stuff. She was wonderful. She was just a wonderful baby.
According to Cleveland Municipal Court records, Candelario told police she left her 16-month-old daughter home alone and unattended while she went on vacation to Puerto Rico and Detroit. And neighbors told me this is not the first time Candelario has left the baby home alone.
We keep telling her not to leave her by herself. Not only me, my friend across the street too, but she always leave her by herself.
Neighbors told me she lives here with her two.
We're going to begin here at 5 o'clock.
I hit the wrong button. I'm so sorry. That's what was concerning to me when this neighbor had said this is not the first time she's left her. That's what I found concerning. And again, I don't know the facts. I don't know, much more than what I read this morning when I decided to talk about this. I will do my due diligence, though, and look into this as far as I can to get all of the information I can. But when that neighbor had said, this isn't the first time, that's what kind of perked my ears up, so to speak.
Street too, but she always be here by herself.
Neighbors told me she lives here with her two daughters and her parents. Her parents recently went on vacation and took Candelario's older daughter with them.
There were so many people here. She could have knocked on any of our doors and asked us to take care of Jailene, and we all would have.
Court records revealed when the mother returned 8 days later, she found her daughter unresponsive in the pack and play where she was left alone.
We were always playing with her. She was so gorgeous. And when they told us the state that they found her in, I was heartbroken.
We discovered that Candelario worked briefly at Hope Academy North Coast as an instructional aide during the 2019-2020 school year. She worked at Citizens Academy Glenville since the fall of 2022. According to a statement from Breakthrough Public Schools based on recent reports, quote, "We have terminated her employment effective immediately." The statement goes on to say, "We are conducting an internal review to determine if there were any complaints of improper conduct during her tenure at Breakthrough Public Schools." Back in the neighborhood, neighbors here are struggling to process what happened inside this house.
She was like a little sister to me.
In Cleveland, Tracy Carlos, News 5.
All right, our breaking news night continues.
Okay, so that was just a little bit more information in regards to that. I will be having a live regarding this case sometime this coming week. So next we get to the Gorge Amphitheater mass shooting that I had done a live on, I think it seems like it was last week. And this took place in Quincy, Washington on June 17th, 2023. So I have two videos on this. The first video is just giving a summary of what happened for those of you who may not be familiar with this case. It took place during the, was it Finding Wonderland music festival? Something Wonderland. I should know this. I think it was Finding Wonderland. So there is a suspect in custody. And so the first video is about a summary of the events. The second video is regarding the suspect.
I was in contact with Ruiz's family tonight, and they weren't ready.
This computer, I swear. StreamYard needs to get its act together is all I've got to say.
ready to talk, but they did release photos of their daughter, though they were not comfortable releasing photos of her fiance, Brandy, at this time. The Ruiz family's attorney, however, provided us with some context that could explain some of the charges the suspect is now being held for. The family of this 26-year-old believes she and her fiance had no relationship with the shooter.
They did not know the suspect.
The family attorney says it's possible the two women were killed as they were trying to help a domestic violence victim.
And that Jocelyn and her fiance, Brandy, stepped in to help the victim of the domestic violence.
Because they were both nurses. Here's Jocelyn Ruiz at her nursing school graduation in 2018. Ruiz's sister-in-law says on a GoFundMe page, Jocelyn had a contagious laugh and loved dancing, singing, and attending music festivals.
The Ruiz family loved Jocelyn and they're devastated. My perspective as an attorney, I'm looking into, why did this happen?
He says there's
I am so sorry, y'all. This is frustrating me beyond belief.
the possibility they could sue.
I'm investigating whether there seems to be a potential of a civil case.
Another shooting victim who survived
one of those wrong place, wrong time kind of things.
Says he was curious because he thought he heard an
argument or fight happen, and a guy popped behind a tent and points his gun at me. He shoots me once, and then the moment he shot me, survival instincts kicked in, and I jumped behind one of my friend's tents. And then I ran, and he chased me and was shooting at me. And as he was shooting at me, there's bullets whizzing by me.
And while he lived to see another day, Brandy and Jocelyn, seen here with their parents, sadly did not.
It's as sad could be.
This is their next-door neighbor in Ballard.
Oh, they were sweet. Oh, my God. You don't know what that was like.
She says when she had a bad flooding problem once,
In the middle of the night.
Brandy spent hours helping her contain it.
She came right away with towels to help me.
A 61-year-old woman named Lori Williams, who was working security, was also shot and injured. And so was 20-year-old Lily Luksich from Snohomish County, who authorities say had attended the concert with the suspect. Authorities have not yet stated whether she was the domestic violence victim, but we'll keep asking and monitoring this. We're also learning the suspect was ultimately shot once by police and survived. I'm Maddie White. Back to you guys.
Okay, so the second video here is regarding the suspect who has pled not guilty.
Two people near the Gorge Amphitheater.
All right, we're just going to wait a minute. This is, like I said, this is beyond frustrating that StreamYard has recently decided not to cooperate with Google Slides.
The man accused of shooting and killing two people near the Gorge Amphitheater is back in front of a Grant County judge. 26-year-old James Kelly is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of first-degree assault, and 1 count of first-degree assault domestic violence. He pleaded not guilty, and he will appear in court again later this month, coming up on July 25th. And right now, his trial is scheduled for August 23rd.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's really quick. So July 25th, is his next court appearance, and then August is when his trial is expected to begin. That is fast. Whether it will happen or not, as we know, trials are always delayed. However, that is a pretty quick turnaround, if I do say so myself. All right, so next is the Brooklyn Day shooting in Baltimore, Maryland, which took place on July 2nd, 2023. There has been arrest. There has been one arrest in this case, a 17-year-old. I believe that there will be more arrests. However, at this point, there is only one that has been charged. So I do have a few videos to catch up some of you up to speed who may not have seen my live on this, and then some updates as well.
Details on a story that is capturing national headlines. It's happening.
All right, so we'll just pause for a minute. So again, thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate you. And August, he said in an article that I had read in my earlier live, he says that he was under the influence of mushrooms. Yes.
Right in our own backyard. This morning, police are still searching for the people responsible for a mass shooting early yesterday morning at a block party in Baltimore. Police say that 30 people were shot, including 2 who were killed. The victims included 20 people who were 18 years old or younger. This all happened on Gretna Court, which is 6 miles south from Baltimore's Inner Harbor. Our Evan Kosloff is live at police headquarters in Baltimore this morning with the latest details on the search for the shooters. And Evan, this morning, we are also learning more about the victims.
Right, and perhaps the most shocking part about learning about these victims is just hearing some of these ages. I wrote it down before I came out here. I just want to read you some of the ages that we're told about. 5 16-year-olds, 3 15-year-olds, 1 14-year-old, and listen to this, 2 13-year-olds were among those that were shot during this incident. And then, of course, there were the 2 that lost their lives. Let's show you their photos, and I'm going to read you their names. There was 18-year-old Aaliyah Gonzalez, who died at the scene, and then 20-year-old Kailis Fagbemi, who was pronounced dead at the hospital. All this about 6 miles from.
And again, so these were the 2 victims that sadly lost their lives in this shooting, and 28 others were injured.
Where I am right now. This is south of the harbor in the Brooklyn neighborhood, and it's just heartbreaking for this community. They were out enjoying a block party, and the shots were fired.
I know we got a lot of victims down. If there's anybody near an ambo with a white sheet that's available, I'm going to need it.
Police scanner audio describing the carnage left behind after a mass shooting in Gretna Court, about 6 miles south from Baltimore's Inner Harbor. And brand new video shows people running from the scene to get away from the sprayed bullets. Baltimore City's Mayor Brandon Scott expressing outrage at this shooting.
This was a reckless, cowardly act of violence that has taken 2 lives and altered many, many more. I hope these folks don't sleep well, because we're not going to sleep until we pull them off.
In the aftermath of this horrific shooting, empty cans and half-eaten boxes of food littered the street as police search for the suspects. Due to the types of shell casings, they believe that there were at least 2 shooters.
There is definitely more than one. We don't know exactly how many, but we do know more than one person was shooting. Detectives, federal partners are still looking for evidence, and we'll continue to look for evidence until we find everything that we need to prosecute and arrest these individuals.
As the investigation continues, community members and state leaders calling for changes.
This is insanity. This cannot be the society that we are expected to live in.
Now, we're told that the event was unpermitted, and our CBS partners from Baltimore, they tell us that neighbors said that there was no officers patrolling at the time of the shooting. Meanwhile, this morning, the search continues to try and find those who were responsible. Reporting here in Baltimore, I'm Evan Kosloff, WUSA 9. Allison.
All right, Evan, thank you so much. Really disturbing story. Thank you.
Okay, so next we've got, this is again talking a little bit more about the victims, and also speaking of the one person that they have charged responsible in this incident.
Live from WJZ, this is breaking news.
And Izzy Pup, thank you so much. I'm having some technical difficulties today that are annoying me to no end, to say the least, but I appreciate you and everyone else being here.
Hello, I'm Denise Koch, and thanks for watching on CBS News Baltimore and WJZ TV. Well, we are following breaking news this noon on the Brooklyn Homes deadly mass shooting. Just minutes ago, Baltimore City Police announced the arrest of one person of interest, a 17-year-old. He is being charged with possession of a firearm by a minor, assault.
Again, a 17-year-old person of interest has been arrested in the deaths of 2 people and the injuries of 28 others.
Weapons possession and reckless endangerment. Now, earlier today, our media partner, the Baltimore Banner, reported that casings from more than a dozen guns were found at the mass shooting scene. It remains unclear how many weapons were there or how many people fired them, or even if the casings came from gunfire earlier in the evening. That mass shooting, it happened Sunday at an annual neighborhood party. 2 people were killed, 28 were injured when gunmen fired into a large crowd of partiers. 3 people remain hospitalized, but they're in fair condition. Baltimore City Police say it was a non-permit gathering, so they did not know it was happening. Later today, Safe Streets is hosting an event for those who live in Brooklyn.
And I do want to just say in that statement, police said they were not aware it was happening. That is true to an extent. It was non-permitted. However, police were, I don't want to say notified, but they became aware that this was happening a few hours before the event. Did they know that this was going to happen after midnight? No, they did not. However, for the news to continue saying that police did not know about the event, it's true they didn't know about the event prior. However, they did state that they did find out about it a couple of hours prior through social media.
Homes. It will take place from 2 to 5 at the Brooklyn Homes basketball court.
All right. And the last, I think I have one more. I do. Okay, so this is one more discussing the teen charged in this horrific, senseless incident.
It has been now less than a week since a deadly mass
Oh my God, this thing, like, I feel like it's whenever I hit closed captioning, I don't know why it's doing this. It doesn't do this unless I'm streaming live on StreamYard. So it's got to be a StreamYard issue, not a Emmy's computer issue.
shooting at Brooklyn Homes killed 2 people and injured 28 others.
City police announced today that they have arrested a 17-year-old in connection to Sunday morning's mass shootings at Brooklyn Homes.
And WJZ Live right now at police headquarters. Paul Gessler spoke with some family members of victims today, and he has more on what we know about this arrest. Paul?
Yeah, those family members taking no pleasure in today's news. The SWAT team members, along with Baltimore City homicide detectives, executed a search warrant.
Crazy nurse, I cleared my entire cache, and I legit only have StreamYard and Google Slides tabs open. I have shut down Discord. I have nothing else running. And that's why I'm saying it's got to be StreamYard, because when I put these slides together, it plays no problem. As soon as I hit go live, share screen, it just acts like a jerk. So I don't know. I'll email StreamYard again to see if there's anything else I can do. I've logged out on all of my devices from StreamYard. I logged back in. I actually restarted my computer today because I know that's part of my issue as well, but it's just frustrating that I have to keep pausing in order to get these videos to play. It's just annoying. Super annoying.
And arrested the 17-year-old just after sunrise this morning.
Anybody watching this, I know you know something. Come forward, please. My family is suffering real bad.
Aaliyah Gonzalez's family this week pleaded for witnesses to help detectives find the shooters responsible for her and Kylis Fagbemi's deaths. Police Friday morning arrested a 17-year-old boy detectives say was involved in Sunday morning's mass shooting. But neighbors and dispatch audio are starting to paint a picture of a chaotic scene with multiple shooters. Our media partner, the Baltimore Banner, reports investigators found bullet casings from more than a dozen guns at the scene indicating police are looking for multiple shooters. News of Friday's arrest is the first time police have released any information publicly since Monday, when the commissioner indicated multiple weapons were discharged.
Have the crime lab decipher whether these casings came from this weapon, those casings came from another weapon. But we do know there are more than 2 or 3.
The 17-year-old in custody as of Friday is only facing gun charges and reckless endangerment. There remains a $28,000 reward for information that leads to more arrests and charges. Aaliyah's family is hoping people speak up.
There was a lot of people.
She was so pretty. And I mean, and when I covered this story initially, like these people, there was a ton of kids out, the adults, the families, it's like a neighborhood block party. And, just having fun and, hanging out with their friends. And then these a-holes have to come up. Well, in this case, only one a-hole so far has to crash the party by opening fire on hundreds of people.
But that night, I know y'all had y'all cameras. I know y'all was video recording. I don't care who you know. I don't care who you're scared of. That could have been your sister, could have been your aunt, or could have been your mother.
I spent a lot of time in the neighborhood today, spoke with the mother of one of the shooting victims who survived. She tells me it's the first time she's heard of this arrest when I told her today, but she took no pleasure in hearing that news. Safe Streets Brooklyn is holding a shooting response in Brooklyn right now. We'll have more on that. WJZ throughout the evening. For now, reporting live at police headquarters at 4, I'm Paul Gessler for WJZ.
All right. And I believe the next one is Como. Yes, it is. Okay, so True Texan, I'm hoping you're still here because I know Como in Fort Worth, Texas is important to you. So ComoFest happened on July 3rd, 2023 in Fort Worth, Texas. And it was a community celebration to celebrate the 4th of July. And all of a sudden, just like in some of these other cases I've talked about, individuals decided they wanted to open fire. And yes, so there have been 2 arrests in this case. And so again, I have, I believe, just one video kind of giving a summary case, and then a video on, or actually I have 3 videos, my bad. I have a video summarizing the event. I have a police press conference, and then I have a video talking about the 2 suspects that have been arrested.
Surveillance video is among the tools Fort Worth police used to identify Christopher Reddick and Brandon Williams. Investigators interviewed the 2 men Friday, soon after arresting them for murder.
We believe that they were 2 people that fired guns, but I'm not ready at this point to say they were the only ones.
Chief Neil Noakes says it's possible then police will make more arrests. Detectives believe Monday's violence was gang-related, though they don't know whether Reddick and Williams were firing at each other, at someone in the crowd, or at random. The shooting began after some kind of fight, police say.
It seems, unfortunately, the only conflict resolution skills some are using involve a gun. Just take a breath. If the first thought you have is to turn to a gun, just take 1 second. Make another choice. Live to see tomorrow.
Police could not yet say if the weapons they recovered from Williams and Reddick belonged to them. Reddick is out of jail on parole for a different crime. Neither man.
Oh, well, isn't that interesting? Let me just back up a tiny bit to their mugshot. So isn't that interesting? Because in the Winter Smith case, the man being held in her murder was also out on parole. How interesting.
Different crime. Neither man lives in Como, lending credibility to neighbors' assertion that people who cause trouble in their area usually come from somewhere else.
They lived it. They lived this, unfortunately. And all I have seen out of them is what I've always seen in Como, which is that love for one another, the strength, the unity, the togetherness
That's what the July 3rd block party is supposed to reflect, longtime Como residents say. But they complain young people from out of town are turning that tradition chaotic.
Noakes said people from out of state attended Monday night's celebration, which happened after the community-sponsored family-friendly ComoFest. The police chief promised next year's block party will look different and said he'll work with people who live in Como to determine how it can continue safely. In Tarrant County, I'm Matt Houston.
All right, so this is, I believe it's about, I cut it down to, I think, about 15 minutes. This is the news conference that police had done, and this is from July 7th. So this was from Friday.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you staying late on a Friday afternoon. We do have some news for you concerning the investigation into the mass shooting that occurred in the Como neighborhood on the evening of July 3rd. So to bring you that information, I've got Fort Worth Police Chief Neil Noakes. Chief.
Earlier this week, Fort Worth suffered a heartbreaking tragedy. And it happened in one of the most historic and loved communities in Fort Worth. As you know, we had 11 people shot and 3 people lost their lives. And you know what? That's not even true. They didn't lose their lives were taken from them violently and senselessly. We at the Fort Worth Police Department, along with everyone at the city of Fort Worth, took this personally. Our officers from multiple units, including our homicide unit, began working around the clock to bring those responsible to justice. With assistance from several units, such as our gang unit, our real-time crime center, our direct response unit, our patrol officers, we are proud to announce that for the residents of Fort Worth, for the community of Como, and most importantly for the victims who died that day, Cynthia Santos, 22 years old, Gabriela Navarrete, 18 years old, and Paul Willis, 18 years old. We have made 2 arrests in this case. Today, Friday, July 7th, our homicide detectives arrested.
All right, well, while this pauses, it's now storming here. So that's, I noticed that it was working very nicely, and I was like, I'm not going to say anything because I'm not going to jinx it. And then it starts pouring here. We're getting storms, and now it's acting up again. So thank you, everyone, for bearing with me today. I hope to have this rectified very soon.
It's a 20-year-old Christopher Reddick Jr. and 19-year-old Brandon Williams. Both are in custody at this time for murder. This is still an ongoing investigation, and anyone with any information, any video, anything that could be of value to the investigation, we ask that you call our homicide unit at 817-392-4330. I spoke with the mayor about this today and made her aware. She sent her regrets because of a prior family commitment. She could not be here, but she was thrilled to find out of the arrest. We had a meeting last night in Lake Como at the community center. It was a very moving meeting. It felt almost like a therapy session, to be quite honest. We heard about the trauma. We heard about the heartache. We heard from some of the family members of those who died that day. But we also heard about the resilience of the Como community, the resilience of the family that they are in that community, despite the tragedy of the situation, despite the young lives that were taken. We saw a community who, instead of laying down and giving up, stood tall, rallied around one another, and loved one another. And I have to say, it's been heartwarming to see the entire city of Fort Worth and the nation rally around the Como community. And we will continue to do so. We ask that you please continue to keep the loved ones of all of the victims, the Como community, the city of Fort Worth, and for the officers that responded that day in your thoughts and in your prayers as we all continue to heal together. I'll be glad to take some questions at this point if you have any.
Chief, what were the circumstances that both of these men were involved in shooting at each other, shooting at other people?
That I don't know much about yet. We were just notified earlier today. As soon as we were notified, we wanted to get the information out. Our investigators are working on exactly what information they can release, but that I don't have at this point.
What led you to these two men?
The exact details, what pieces of evidence got them there, I don't know, but I can tell you this. Our gang unit worked really hard because we do believe this was gang related. From their expertise and their experience with the entire city of Fort Worth, we're able to work hand in hand with the homicide unit. We had officers poring over video over and over again to collect even the slightest bit of evidence they could to help them identify the people involved. So it really was a cumulative effort from many people within the department looking at every bit of evidence they possibly could. It's possible at this point. We have the two that we have confirmed that I mentioned that were involved, but we want to make sure we take every measure we can to take anyone else who might possibly be involved into custody as well.
But we still believe that they opened fire on the crowd, but we don't know why, or if there was someone in the crowd they were targeting.
My understanding, immediately prior to the shots, there was some type of an altercation. I don't know specifically who they were shooting at, but there's a potential that altercation is what initiated the violence to occur.
Are these guys from Fort Worth?
From Fort Worth, yes.
Were they arrested in Fort Worth?
That's my understanding.
At their home?
I don't know the exact location.
Did either suspect agree to be interviewed by homicide?
I'm sorry?
Did either suspect agree to be interviewed by homicide?
I understand that they were interviewed. I don't have the details of the interview, unfortunately, but they did speak with detectives.
Was the altercation between the two of them or somebody else?
I'm not sure on that one, Jason.
Are you confident these were the only two people who fired guns that night?
We believe that they were two people that fired guns, but I'm not ready at this point to say they were the only ones.
Chief, this adds to the list of people in this age group just this year alone that's been involved in gun violence. What do you say to the young people in our city in this age group when it comes to gun violence?
There is so much more to live for. There is so much more value that should be placed not only on the lives of the potential victims, but on themselves as well. It seems, unfortunately, the only conflict resolution skills some are using involve a gun. It doesn't matter how minor an altercation may be, someone pulls out a gun, and then maybe someone else pulls out a gun, and it ends in death and tragedy. What I'd like to say to them is they're so young, they have so much to live for. Just take a moment. Councilmember Jared Williams is here with us today, and you've heard of the 1 Second Collaborative, but you may not really know what's behind that name. Just take 1 second. Just take a breath. If the first thought you have is to turn to a gun, just take 1 second. Make another choice. Live to see tomorrow.
Do we know if they were at
And those, my friends, are words to live by. I actually, hearing him say that, I actually think I'm going to clip that statement from the chief, because that is what we should all live by. The 1 second. And I've said I talk slow a lot of times. I pause as I take that second or sometimes two to think about what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it.
a large gathering before the altercation, or they showed up, went to go get firearms and came back?
My understanding is they were there. Exactly where they retrieved those weapons, I'm not sure, but they had been at the event, yes.
I'm sorry. So the video, the surveillance video, I just want to make that clear. Did that help?
That assisted, yes. Yes, ma'am.
You had officers there. You were part of the security plan for ComoFest. You had officers in the area.
And so that's interesting to me. So the chief just said that the surveillance video that they had released did assist in finding these two kids. So now I feel like taking another look at that surveillance, knowing that it helped investigators locate these two individuals, would be, I don't want to say fun, but intriguing, interesting to kind of see if now that we know, what these suspects look like, if we could point to who they are in that massive crowd.
Why didn't you break up the gathering in the street without crowd?
You know, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that one. This event has been going on for many years, and there have been different methods of working with the Como community to find a way to make sure people can have a great time, but also be safe while they're there. We had officers in the immediate area. We had some stage at other locations for quick response to any issues we might have had. The event we saw this year was much like what we saw last year, where we didn't see the violence. This year, unfortunately, somebody chose to grab a weapon and make it a violent situation. One of the things we discussed last night at the meeting at the Como Community Center is how this event needs to look going forward. Changes will be made. It's something we've discussed internally, and last night the Como community made it loud and clear that they want to be part of that discussion and they want to see changes too. So going forward, we don't know exactly what the event's going to look like. There will still be a parade on July 4th. We're talking about the ComoFest event, which happens prior to what you saw in the footage that's been released. But that after party, if you will, that's not going to look the same.
Will those changes that you apply to the ComoFest, will those be applied to any event throughout the city?
You know, just like every community in the city of Fort Worth, every community is unique. Every festival, every event we have is unique. And what we do is look at each specific event to see exactly how it needs to be tailored for the safety and enjoyment of everyone involved. So we're not looking at blanket changes across the board. We're just looking where changes are needed. And right now, we're specifically looking at what needs to happen in Como.
Do they live in the Como neighborhood?
That I have not confirmed, but we're working to find out.
You know, based on the jail records, their zip codes are not in Como. So what do you say to the people in Como who want to have these events, who are concerned about people coming into the community and causing this violence? How are you going to keep them safe?
That was another discussion we had at the meeting last night. It's been said over and over again. The violence that happened in this community was not necessarily perpetrated by anyone from that community. This event has been going on for years. The parade itself for 73 years.
Wow.
I talked with some other folks at a barbershop today, and they said this event started for the Como community, period. It was started for people who lived there to fellowship, to be around one another, celebrate their community. But I also heard, again at the meeting last night, not only do we see people from all over Fort Worth, all over the Metroplex, but they said there were people who came from out of state specifically to come to this event. Out of state. We want to allow the families, the amazing people of Como, to be able to have a party without people who aren't invited invading their community. We're talking with them all.
And so I believe it was Patricia. Let me just go up quick. Somebody actually made a comment. Yes, it was Patricia. Patricia had said probably just pissed that they were not invited. And so now that the chief is saying, you know, I'm going to assume that these two individuals under arrest were not a part of the Como community. And even though they lived in Fort Worth, they deliberately went there to wreak some kind of havoc on this event.
Already about steps going forward. We're planning meetings to determine what this best looks like. We want to protect the citizens of Como, not just their safety, but their peace of mind, knowing that it is the Como community that's celebrating, and not necessarily people coming from outside of the community who have ill intentions when they arrive.
What do you say to the parents or family members or anybody that has a young child, even close to this age, who this might scare to go out and spend time with, their neighborhood, their city? How do you tell them that it's going to be okay?
I think instead of my words, one thing they could do is look at the way the Como community has responded.
Patches, no, this is not. This is from, give me 1 second. I don't want to misquote the date. This was from July 7th. So this press conference was from Friday. And this was the announcement that they had charged two, well, I call them kids, a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old. They have charged with the murder of three individuals at ComoFest in Fort Worth, Texas.
They lived this, unfortunately. And all I have seen out of them is what I've always seen in Como, which is that love for one another, the strength, the unity, the togetherness, the celebration of their historic community and of one another. In addition to that, I would like to ask everyone, be aware of your surroundings. Situational awareness is critical. And if you see anything that looks funny, that sounds funny, that you think may turn into something dangerous, please call us. If you see something, say something. That's where the partnership with the police department and the community is absolutely vital. What we don't want is people to feel too scared to even leave their homes. But we hear stories about that across the nation, where people have anxiety, depression, because they're afraid of what they might face when they go to a grocery store, a house of worship, when their kids leave for school. Como is no different. They want the same things out of life as everyone. They see the same news broadcasts about tragedies across the country. But as I said before, they are standing strong. They are leaning on one another. They are helping the entire community get through this together. And I have to say that from the Fort Worth Police Department to the entirety of the city of Fort Worth, every resident everywhere across the entire city, we are absolutely committed to doing everything we possibly can to keep the citizens of Fort Worth safe, to make all of our residents feel safe. We have officers who do so much every day, put so much on the line to come in, oftentimes for people they don't know, and they're willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to protect those people, and we will continue to do so. Our job is not done, obviously, but we are on the job, and we will continue to be on the job.
Chief, you visited the bar. Can you tell us why? What made you go to the neighborhood? Why?
The reason I went to the barbershop, this one wasn't even in the Como community. We have a program called Shop Talk where we go into barbershops, we'll go into salons, and we have conversations. And today the topic was Como, and that is exactly what we talked about. And there were several people in there who either went to Como when they were young, many, many years ago, lived in Fort Worth all their lives, and they talked about how heartbroken they were. We talked about the fact that when they went, when they were younger, it wasn't like this. And they don't want to see it continue to be this way. And neither do we.
We take one more question.
Are they known to Fort Worth police? Are they known to you guys?
I have had some with Fort Worth say they are familiar with the names. Yes.
Can you update us on the status of the officers while shooting for Wednesday morning and release that video?
We're hoping to release that video early next week. We're still compiling some information, but the plan is the early part of next week. Listen, thank you so much for coming out. This is an important, as tragic as it is, it's an important conversation to be had. It's an important topic. We are happy to say that we made these arrests, but we're sad to say they were necessary in the first place. God bless all of you.
Well said, sir. Well said. Okay, so the last video is again just about the victims of this senseless act, because as many of you know, I am about remembering the victims, even though we have to talk about the suspects or the alleged criminal involved. So this was when I first talked about the Como shooting. They had talked about 2 of the victims. This victim hadn't been talked about prior, and I thought it was important that we remember her.
Well, 2 days after a mass shooting in Fort Worth, police have...
And we'll just give this video a moment to catch up with what it should be doing. So, yeah, I agree, Shauna. That is pretty amazing to go into the barber and beauty shops and just, you know, have conversations. Just, yeah.
Still not made any arrests.
Yeah, we are learning more about the 3 people who died.
And again, just know that this video was actually prior to the arrests being made. This video was actually from July 6th, which was Thursday. So it would have been the day before the arrests were made.
Fox 4's Dan Godwin is live with a look. Dan.
And Lauren, the motive for Monday night's shooting is still not known. Homicide detectives still trying to determine why a group of what police call unknown males opened fire into a crowd. We do know the name of the 3rd person who was killed. She is 18-year-old Gabriela Navarrete. Her family says she just graduated from Weatherford High School. Families of all the victims are anxious for someone to be held responsible for what happened. Cell phone and surveillance video from Monday shows the panic of hundreds of people trying to escape the gunfire when the shots rang out Monday night. 8 people were wounded. Another one of the victims who died, 22-year-old Cynthia Santos. Her sister, who wanted to remain anonymous, talked with us Wednesday about Cynthia.
Funny. She's very loving and ambitious for sure. Whatever she got in her head, she went to go get it. It's a mess. My mom's a mess. My dad's a mess. I'm trying to keep it together for her.
People who live in the Como neighborhood in West Fort Worth say more needs to be done to stop gun violence in the wake of Monday's mass shooting. Neighbors, faith leaders, and community activists gathered yesterday to discuss the problem. There was talk of a strained relationship between police and the Black community and a lack of economic resources in their neighborhoods. And at least one speaker said too many young people are simply feeling ignored.
These youngsters don't have they don't have love. They don't have they don't feel it from us like that. That's why they so deaf to feel it. They're easy to kill each other. Love ain't something that's real to them. Everything's about what I can gain, what I can have, what I can consume.
Fort Worth Police Chief Neil Noakes attended the meeting. He says he was thankful for the opportunity to work together to seek solutions. Police, meanwhile, have not released any information about any suspects in Monday night's attack. And as Brandon and Lauren mentioned, no arrests have been made. Live at police headquarters, Dan Godwin on Good Day.
Okay. Ooh. All right. Didn't mean for you to see that slide. Just give me 1 second. Actually, I need to stop sharing just for a minute, because I actually do need that slide. Okay, so this is, let me reshare. So there are 2 news articles that I am going to share with you in regards to the Como shooting. And the first one is again talking to the sister of Christina. And I will say that this is a very emotional interview, so viewer discretion is advised.
When I served, my work was critical, and I don't feel like that's the case anymore.
It got so bad that I was even thinking about suicide.
Whatever you're dealing with, call the Veterans Crisis Line.
Yeah, we are learning more about the victims of this Monday night shooting. Cynthia Santos was 22 years old. She left her home that night, telling her parents that she'd be home in an hour. She did not return. It is quiet at the Santos home here in Fort Worth. They are all still numb, grieving the death of Cynthia Santos.
She didn't deserve that. She just did not. I'm mad at everybody. I'm mad at everything.
Her older sister, Christina, spoke with us. She did not want us showing her face. She's been crying for 2 days straight.
They destroyed my family. They really did. She was the anchor.
Cynthia was one of 5 children, a strong personality known for her unique red hair, also known to help in every way around the house, like giving rides. But she was also a homebody and was supposed to be home the night of ComoFest.
She was already in pajamas. She has already told my mom, I'm going to go to sleep. But they convinced her to go.
Christina wants people to know her sister was not involved in the shooting. She had gone with her best friend.
I don't want people to associate her with any of that.
We're told Cynthia was resuscitated twice. The 3rd time would be her last.
The bullet was too deep. It hit her spine. She didn't stand a chance, you know?
Christina is reminded of her sister everywhere, including the cat she gave her, named Doja.
Part of me, it's missing. You know, I come home, her car's here. I still expect her to come in.
Another victim, Paul Willis, was just 18 years old. We spoke to his mother on Tuesday. Fort Worth police identified the 3rd victim as Gabriela Navarrete. She was 18. 3 dead, 8 injured. ComoFest was supposed to be a celebration. It turned into a tragedy. In Fort Worth, I'm Jobin Puniker.
Okay. And this one again talks about the arrests. So let me share this.
Director of Marketing for Sutter Home.
Sutter Home is a 4th-generation family-owned winery. Our award-winning wines have been trusted by wine lovers for generations, and we're celebrating our 75th anniversary. It's also the 33rd anniversary of Sutter Home's Build.
All right, we're just going to pause that while we're learning about this ad. And I agree, it's terrible. Terrible.
There is some sense of relief in Fort Worth's Como neighborhood tonight after police make 2 arrests linked to Monday night's mass shooting. Now the community is coming together in memory of the 3 victims killed. Lily Zhang was at tonight's vigil as leaders called for an end to the violence.
An evening of reflection and emotion. At this vigil in Fort Worth Friday, families find a safe space to grieve the mother of a man who died in an officer-involved shooting Wednesday morning and the family of Gabriela Navarrete. She was one of the 3 people killed late Monday night in Como.
This has been a whirlwind of a week for our city.
Police Friday announced these 2 men have been arrested for the June 3rd shooting in Como. Christopher Reddick and Brandon Williams face murder charges for allegedly shooting into this crowd of people late Monday night, killing 3 and injuring 8 others.
Our gang unit worked really hard because we do believe this was gang related. From their expertise and their experience with the entire city of Fort Worth, we're able to work hand in hand with the homicide unit.
Fort Worth Police Chief Neil Noakes says investigators worked endlessly searching for clues in videos like these. Investigators say immediately before the gunfire erupted on Horn Street Monday, there was some kind of altercation. Noakes says the suspects, 20 and 19 years old, are both from Fort Worth. At a press conference Friday, Chief Noakes spoke directly to the youth population.
There is so much more to live for. There is so much more value that should be placed not only on the lives of the potential victims, but on themselves as well. It seems, unfortunately, the only conflict resolution skills some are using involve a gun.
Fort Worth leaders begging for change.
Nobody has all the answers, but if we sit down at a table and we strategize and communicate, then we can begin this process of healing.
So no more people have to grieve like these families. In Fort Worth, Lily Zhang, NBC5.
It is unclear whether Reddick or Williams have obtained attorneys yet. Chief Noakes says that it is possible that there will be more arrests.
Okay. All right, so that's what I have for you in regards to Como. So I have decided, as we've been going through, I am going to talk about the 2 firefighters from Newark who lost their lives. I will do a separate live tomorrow just because that incident is a little bit different from what I'm talking about with the majority of these cases. Considering we're talking about criminals, I'm going to make a separate slideshow for the 2 firemen who lost their lives because I'd rather not group them in with these cases. So the last case we are going to look at is the mass shooting in Kingsessing, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this took place on July 3rd, 2023. August Moon, you too. Have a good one. And this was a man who was walking the streets of Kingsessing, shooting at random people. All right. So I believe I have 3 videos in regards to this, and then we will wrap things up.
This 40-year-old Kim Brady Carricker. He's the man accused and suspected of killing those 5 people and injuring others. I'm Jason Martinez.
And I'm Sheba Russell. He is facing a long list of charges. The district attorney offering an update today on all of that. But first, we want to get to Kelly Rule, the suspect facing a judge for the first time. Kelly.
Today we spoke with the grandmother of Kim Brady Carricker. She tells me his family is devastated. She personally hasn't spoken with him in 2 months, but says this was out of character for him. And she has the same question so many others do tonight. Why?
I think a respectful young man with me.
A woman who identified herself as 40-year-old Kim Brady Carricker's grandmother spoke with Fox 29 on the condition that we did not show her face or use her name. Her grandson accused of killing 5 innocent people in a mass shooting Monday night in Kingsessing, according to police. Like herself, she says Carricker's parents are also in shock.
He didn't come off like that. You see what I'm saying? They're devastated. They want to know what happened. Why? Same question everybody wants to know in the family.
Carricker was arraigned via video conference this morning on 10 sets of charges for 10 victims, the 5 who were murdered and the others wounded by gunfire or injured during the chaos. He only spoke when answering yes to a few basic questions. Police say Carricker was arrested wearing a ski mask and bulletproof vest, armed with an AR-style rifle and handgun after opening fire, seemingly at random, in the area of 56th and Chester Streets around 8:30 Monday night. Officials say Carricker was convicted of a misdemeanor in 2005 that does not prohibit him from owning a gun, but he was not licensed to carry. Carricker's grandmom says he told her he carried a gun for protection.
He said what everybody should have one. I told him, no, not my house. I never seen the gun he had. He just told me he had it.
Was he angry about anything? Did he express that he was upset about anything?
see it 2 months. I haven't seen it for 2 months, and that was unusual.
District Attorney Larry Krasner said a handwritten will dated June 23rd was found at Carricker's home, and people who lived with him told his office it was normal for him to keep guns in the house and wear a vest, but he was becoming more and more agitated recently.
And that's what I thought was weird when I heard that. They had said that people who live with him said that he wore a vest in his home. So not only did he have a gun, he wore a bulletproof vest in his home. And his grandma, when they asked her, had he been acting strangely, she said, well, no, but I haven't seen him in 2 months, which is unusual. So he was acting differently, at least in my opinion. If, you see him more often than, 2 months at a go, that seems concerning, at least in my opinion.
This neighbor told Fox 29 Tuesday he met Carricker last week.
I went to my crib, I met him, but he looked like he was fine. Wasn't nothing wrong with him. Completely normal. He told me he was a town watchman around here, yeah. He said he was a town watchman. I was like,
oh, he said he was the town watchman. Interesting. So, again, this is just my opinion. It seems that this man may have been paranoid for some reason. If he was, if he thought he was the town watchman, he was always wearing a bulletproof vest, he had a gun. To me, he seems somewhat paranoid.
Carricker's grandmother says she never heard that directly from her grandson.
That's what I heard from the streets. I'm telling you, there's a whole new ball game. With me, I ain't know none of that stuff. It's a whole new ball game.
There was no bail set today for the 5 murder charges, but bail was set at $1.5 million for each wounded victim and those injured by shattered glass. Carricker's next court date is scheduled for July 24th.
Kelly Rule, thank you very much in Philadelphia.
And next. Okay, so this has to do with the vigils held. And again, some of the commentary is a bit emotional, so just know that also emotional.
Yeah, now let's get to the investigation involving that deadly rampage in Kingsessing, a mass shooting. Philadelphia police releasing new details today about it, but still no information on a motive for the deadly attack.
A total of 5 people were killed. The youngest victim, a 15-year-old boy, a 2-year-old and 13-year-old were also shot, but they are expected to be okay. Shayna, one neighbor says the suspected shooter called themselves the town watchman. This is just so painful for the community and the victims' families.
Absolutely, Sheba. Lots of raw emotion tonight, really across the city, but certainly in Kingsessing, where just over 24 hours ago, chaos erupted when that gunman opened fire, killing 5 and injuring 2. 2 vigils were held today back in that neighborhood, and the pain in the community was clear.
It's so unbelievable to be around somebody so genuine like him. I never met someone like him.
Driana Burnett tells me her boyfriend and the love of her life, Lashad Merritt, was one of the 5 people killed in Monday's mass shooting in Kingsessing.
He was just simply trying to go to the store and get something to eat.
Dozens gathering outside of the home on Greenway Avenue for a balloon release in honor of the 21-year-old whose loved ones, visibly distraught, say was an all-around good person.
To get his life cut short like this, that's not fair.
Just blocks away on Ethan Street, another vigil for another shooting victim held for 15-year-old DeJuan Brown. Family and friends gathering to console one another, the community broken over what investigators say happened within a matter of minutes. In an update from Philadelphia Police Tuesday, investigators say the shooting rampage happened just after 8:30 Monday night when the gunman, described by police as a 40-year-old man, opened fire near 56th and Chester Streets in what police believe was a random attack. Fox 29 has learned this video circulating on social media is being reviewed by police as part of the investigation, showing the suspect here turn and open fire.
The suspect then began shooting aimlessly at occupied vehicles and individuals on the street as they walked.
Police say officers ran towards the gunman, who was armed with an AR-15 style rifle, a 9mm handgun, a ski mask, and body armor, and in an alley near the 1600 block of Fraser Street, took the shooter into custody. Among those killed, 29-year-old Demir Stanton, 31-year-old Joseph Wama, and 59-year-old Ralph Morales. A 13-year-old boy was shot in the legs, according to police, and investigators say a 2-year-old little boy was also shot while he was riding in the back seat with his twin brother while their mother was driving. Both children, we're told, are in stable condition.
On what was supposed to be a beautiful summer evening, this armed and armored individual wreaked havoc, firing with a rifle at their victims, seemingly at random, shooting 7, killing 5, including children, babies.
Now, we still don't know the why. Many people across the country at this point, and certainly here in Philadelphia, are asking that very question. So yet to remain in terms of that information. But it's important to note investigators have not publicly named the shooter. But at this point, it could be coming soon because we're told the alleged shooter is set to face a judge tomorrow. And that's when those charges will come down. Jason.
Right. And as we know, they did identify the shooter. And so the last video I have for you today is remembering the victims who lost their lives in this senseless act. DeJuan Brown, Joseph Wama Jr., Demir Stanton, Ralph Morales, and Lasheed Merritt.
The Kingsessing community gathers to grieve. Pray and to try and find solace during a time when answers are hard to find.
The 5 victims of Monday's mass shooting are remembered. Their lives, which were cut too short, are celebrated.
Wednesday night, the big story on Action News is a community and a city coming to grips with the senseless killing of 5 people.
Yeah, tonight, 2 days after the tragedy, we are learning now so much more about those men who were killed. One was a father who was about to walk his daughter down the aisle at her wedding this weekend.
And a brother who...
Oh my God, a father who was going to walk his daughter down the aisle. Oh my God, I can't. And we'll just give this a minute to catch up.
Was like a second father to his siblings. 5 families who are dealing with unimaginable pain and loss. Of course, a teenager among those who are dead.
Action News reporter Bob Brooks attended a prayer service for the victims tonight. He joins us live from outside police headquarters with more. Bob, this is so heartbreaking.
Yeah, Shari and Gray, it's heartbreaking as it gets. Look, these were people who had lives, that they had families, but it was all cut short. They were innocent victims who did not deserve this, and now their families, they have to try and find a way to move forward. And I can tell you, based on what we saw tonight, that's not going to be easy. If an image could sum up the last few days, this would be it. We saw all kinds of emotions pouring out at Salt and Light Church in Southwest Philadelphia. This was the interfaith service for those who were killed and wounded Monday night. It was here today we learned even more about the victims, like 59-year-old Ralph Morales.
His daughter gets married Sunday, so now she's grieving, trying to plan her wedding, visiting her father, walking her down the aisle, and having to do a funeral.
His family is finding comfort through the prayers.
We're just trying to stay in prayer, trying to figure it out as each day goes.
Earlier in the day, we met with Yvonne Alexander. She's close family friends with the victim of Demir Stanton, whom she's known since he was a little boy.
We're all hurt, and we're just trying to find out what motive this young man had to do what he did, because he damaged a lot of people.
We also heard from the sisters of victim Joseph Wama at a news update today.
I'm going to miss him a lot. He taught me a lot about myself. He was like a second father to me.
Before the church service ended tonight, several families of the victims gathered in front with clergy members around them. They embraced each other as the community is now asked to rally around them through this grieving process. Again, heartbreaking, Gray. Now, the events out near the scene are not over. Tomorrow, there's a police walk. The Philadelphia Police local clergy members are asking everyone to meet them at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Go through the neighborhood at 56th and Chester Avenue.
All right, we're going to just end it there because my computer is not being cooperative. Well, I should say StreamYard is not being cooperative. So there is, if anyone's interested in watching the full memorial service, there is a video out there on YouTube where you can watch that entire thing. I chose not to show it because I had so many other updates in this presentation that it would just take too much time. But I am going to make a note. I will put the link to the full memorial service in the description after the live. And I just want to thank all of you again for being here with me and hanging out on this Sunday afternoon. I will be live later today at 9 p.m. for a members only chat. We'll be posting a poll on my community page giving different options, what we want to do. And based on those votes, that will help me determine what I'm going to do at 9 p.m. So until then, I hope you all have a good day. I hope to see you later. And until then, I will see you all on the flip side.